All right, the topic of this video, and I'm going to talk about stuff largely from the past. So this video has been 5-10 years, like the concept has been on my mind for over a decade. Closer to 20 years even. Mostly the concept, yes, we even had we had a camcorder growing up, so we'd make film videos of me when I was 7 or 8 years old, competing in swim races and stuff like that. And I'm 29, so over 20 years, videos have been part of my life for over 2 decades. But this specifically, the concept, I've been thinking about, ruminating for a long time, figuring out what is the right wording. So I have come up with a wording which I think kind of works. So I'm gonna make the video now because I can communicate it at the least. So the topic of the video is crossover training and its effects on my athletic performance. And this, I'm gonna do crossover training and start with the definition. So that's what this is about. Crossover training is not the same thing, so does not equal CrossFit. And here, there's kind of 2 meanings to this word. So I'm going to start with the one, because this is one that people are more familiar with. So CrossFit originally is a term that refers to training in multiple things at the same time. So it's crossover fitness, which I'm differentiating here with crossover training. And it was abbreviated down to CrossFit. And then there's the CrossFit Games and stuff like that, which is a franchise. And so there's the sport of CrossFit. And that's nice. I have not ever done the sport of CrossFit. I have done the training multiple different things very close together and that kind of CrossFit. So I've in the past I've said I've done CrossFit as in a fitness, not as in the games. And that kind of CrossFit, that franchise CrossFit. I do have a lot of experience in crossover training. So that's CrossFit. It is not crossover training. Crossover training is an intensive training in one sport, and that training affects the training in another sport, or my athletic performance in another sport. So strictly speaking, it's a super emphasis on training. So CrossFit is about fitness in multiple forms. This is about training and how training in one sport, so just one thing. This is kind of the polar opposite of CrossFit, really. Training in one thing can affect and crossover. So you can think of the training crossovers to other sports. And that can have positive or negative impacts. So we're going to I'm going to go over the sports I'm going to cover. And then I've been conceptualizing this video for a while, and so I have arrows, and I get to see if I can remember it's been a while since I've competed. So the sports I'm going over in this video, there are 5 of them, and on all 5 sports, I have competed in organized sports teams. So this was I competed at a collegiate level through not intramural, but an actual official club team, or I competed on my high school team, or I competed in for soccer, I competed in we had a club, Hillwood Soccer Club, and we had a team in the Hillwood Soccer Club, kind of thing. So they're all club to high school to university kind of organized. It's not an intramural or something like that, which I'm not hating on intramural. That's still competitive. It's just these are I have not taken part in an intramural sport. So this is trying to define my scope of competition. So I'm going to start with swimming, which I returned to yesterday and today. For the swim nerds, I'll give you what you want. So my target times, so when training and swimming, it's good to have target times. So the 2 events I am focusing on are the 200-meter butterfly long course. My target time is 2 minutes and 5.99 seconds. My current personal best time is 2 minutes and 24.81 seconds. The second event I'm focusing on is the 200-meter backstroke long course. My target time is 2 minutes and 8.88 seconds. My current personal best time is 2 minutes 22 seconds, and 22.22 seconds. Sorry, excuse me. And then between those 2 times, so my 200-meter long course freestyle, 200-meter long course individual medley, and 200-meter breaststroke long course. They're all between those 2 times. So they're all between 2 minutes 22.22 seconds and 2 minutes 24.81 seconds. So I'm not internationally competitive, like, kind of whatsoever. I have been on the Norway national team for over a decade. If you're looking for the true Norwegian Swimming Federation, they're not online. They don't even have a website. That's just, if you're so looking for the truth, that's not actually out there these days. Maybe someday. But yeah, so that's for the swim nerds. And then I have one for the running nerds too. Very different temperaments, those groups. Runners have their wits about them. They tend to be. Not slamming aquatics nerds. Aquatics nerds are good. Just running like tempers people out. That mellows people out. There, that's a better word. Runners tend to be more mellow. Then there's water polo. Okay, so for soccer, so for swimming, I kind of peaked at like 2.5 hours a day. And that would be like, I'd have a school practice or a club practice or something, and then I would swim laps on my own with my own workouts. Soccer, I peaked at 8 hours a day, and that's 8 hours of physical activity a day. That was through a camp. That's, it's a professional sport, and part of it is because of 8+ hours a day. Soccer was interesting because I was good at it. I didn't have anybody who like particularly inspired me though, male nor female. I know. I'm the villain in all of this. That's like with swimming. I'm always painted as the villain because people want me to swim events, and I choose to swim events other than what they want me to swim. There's like, they're like, this should be her pet event. And it's like, no, I have autonomy and free will, and I choose to use it and not be bullied. But then, of course, they paint me as the villain. So that's swimming. Again, with the runners are better tempered. That's an actual case of it. So water polo was like 2.5 hours. We would have both in the water and on land training. Swimming was just in the pool. Then there's rugby. I think our longest practices were like 2 or 2.5 hours. It's like, this is just grueling. And then running, that would be more of like, I'd peak at like 12 miles. I was just, so it's not something and I was on track and field for school. So I've done organized teams for all of this. And our practices were like 1.5 hours and stuff. Timed sprints and stuff like that. And so, and then for people, so I've been running, my target time in my running is for the 1 mile run is 4 minutes and 35 seconds, which is not very, it's an okay time. My current personal best time for a 1 mile run is 4 minutes and 47 seconds, which sounds fast, but in the running community, I'm a woman, like that is barely competitive at the local track and field like series they have. Barely competitive. To be winning anything. Yeah. They're all right times. So then that's kind of my background. How do these affect each other? We're gonna see if I can do this quickly, which sounds okay. Swimming to water polo. I'll just jump right into it. Oh, the pen is dying. Swimming to water polo. Well, that one's kind of, it's not actually, swimming is like useful for swimming up and down the pool, but it actually can be a bit of a hindrance to being a good water polo player, because pool swimmers spend a lot of time on the wall in practices. In water polo, we weren't, so our practice would be like 2 hours long and we wouldn't be allowed to touch the wall or the bottom of the pool, and swimmers take a bunch of breaks. They do like 25s or 50s and then, you know, rest for 10 seconds and then go. And water polo is far more grueling. So I'd say, while swimming is great and having that base foundation, it there can be really good swimmers that are terrible water polo players. Why? This, in addition to this requiring endurance, it's a high contact sport. This is like everybody's given their own lane to swim in, like in competitions. This is, watch out, because somebody's going to give you a bloody nose. Right? This is about as anti-contact is like possible in sports. Like, it's kind of the polar opposite of track and field, where like people shove each other and then fall and trip. This is like, can't even yeah. Stay in your lane, literally, and they have lane lines, like, so kind of opposite of track and field. These sports don't have a whole lot of similarities, especially like all lanes in a swimming pool are the same length. All lanes on a track are a different length. Length. It's kind of funny when people make comparisons. Kind of like, if you look at the details of the sport, they're kind of opposite. So that's swimming to water polo. It can actually be a hindrance because it's conditions its athletes to be anti-contact, and this requires high contact. Up next is soccer to swimming. So I trained in soccer for 8 hours a day. I still don't know what it was, but I trained in that. We went to open swim after training for 8 hours a day, and none of my swimming muscles worked. So and I had been, prior to this soccer camp I went to, I had been doing my swim practices and stuff like that. So I still don't actually know what pinpointing the muscles. I'd have to do more reflection and introspection on that, what muscles were they. I just couldn't swim. And like, to the point where I was like concerned about my health in the pool and like whether I was going to stay afloat. And so I was like, this at high volumes, so 5+ hours, significantly affects my ability to swim in a negative sense. And my times that summer were not that fast. I did get a little bit faster, but it was like a slower year of getting faster. It was an odd year. How does soccer affect running? Because soccer can be slightly high impact, depending on how aggressive the players are, that can actually translate over well to track and field. I will say it can be kind of a hindrance for my running fast, because I'm a defender. So in soccer, I'm used to chasing people, versus in running, kind of need to be, it's more of a self-motivated thing. So if just kind of like, depending on one's position, if one's a forward, this might translate better to running. But for me, because I was a defender and was used to like chasing people, it's a bit of a different motivation source for running fast. Everything should have an arrow. Do we have everything having an arrow? Not yet. How does rugby affect running? Oh, that's kind of the same thing. I would say rugby, however, because I would say there's kind of like a survival component to it. It's like American football without padding and without stopping. And so like we would have practices where we just tackle. And this actually positively affected my running, because I realized like it's really useful to be able to run fast in rugby. And like in life, right? Like, be it walking along the side of the street and there's a car that starts to swerve towards you, or somebody starts chasing you or something like that. It's just useful to be able to know, like, it's time to kick it into high gear. I don't want to be tackled. You know, I don't, and so that actually, this is like the difference between, I had like a 6-minute mile, 6.5-minute mile, and then post rugby, my running went down to less than 5 minutes a mile. So dramatically, huge improvement, good impact. And then the last one I'm gonna do is running and water polo crossover training. And so running and water polo, those I did at the same time in high school, and it was wonderful. My running, like, I had, the goalkeepers are supposed to have the best legs on the team for treading water, and I, like, in terms of strength, I was one of the best because of my running. I had it's running for me carried over to egg beater kick and water polo, and helped make me a better water polo player. So in that sense, yeah, those are kind of the physical crossovers between these trainings for these sports. Is there anything else? Hair. So this hair could work for all of these sports, and this sounds like comical, but in the past I used to style my hair after Victoria Beckham. She's the wife of David Beckham, and she had an inverted bob, so like, and so I styled it in the same way. Is like my hair would be down here and then kind of up in the back, a few inches higher in the very back of my head. And I actually had to think about how to style my hair and how to, like, what happens if my hairband breaks or something like that. And that would always be kind of like a back burner stressor, or what happens if my cap breaks if I'm swimming. With this, my hair doesn't get in my way. So it's a whole lot, I'm actually faster than I ever was with long hair. I think partially it's the lack of stress of having to be concerned about my hair. Now, if my hair got longer, it might actually be in part because, like, I find in swimming, having a different hairstyle, it's okay. Or it's even advantageous in the sport. But right now, this fits. So yeah. So that's my crossover training stuff. Is training in one sport can cross over and affect training and athletic performance in another sport. For me, it doesn't for everybody, but it does for me.